Bye! My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back to another episode of Duck Dogs, everybody. I'm your host, Josh Miller. And before we get going, as always, we need to make sure we thank our wonderful sponsors that make this show possible. First and foremost, thank you to Eukanuba. Eukanuba is the presenting sponsor of this show. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 is the blend of food that I have my dogs on as they wrap up the waterfowl season. But we're heading into another season that we'll talk about here today. So it's important that they stay at their peak physical condition as they head into these times that they're just exerting so much energy and giving me their all. I want to do that in return for them and give them the best food that they can be on. So Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020. Also, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs for your four-legged hunting partner. Everything from dog vests to dog blinds to whistles to bumpers, you name it. Gun Dog Supply is the stop for you as you're looking for that gear. So they're great people, great products. It's a great company. www.gundogsupply.com. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test ready kennel, both in the intermediate and in the large size. So no matter how big or small your four-legged hunting partner is, you can be sure they're traveling as safe as they possibly can. Go check them out at www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for outdoor clothing, whether you are out in the field hunting or in the field getting that extra rep in with your dog in the training field. This is going to keep you in the field more comfortable for longer. And we all know how precious that time is in the field. So more comfortable for longer is always a positive thing. www.sitkagear. Good grief. We're going to be one of those days, you guys. www.sitkagear.com. Don't know why that was so difficult. Kent Cartridge. Kent is your shotgun shell of choice. That's what we shoot. I love the Kent Bismuth. I've shot that all waterfowl season. It's my absolute go-to, and I've loved every second of that. I actually had numerous people try it for the first time this year and absolutely fell in love with it themselves. www.kentcartridge.com. And last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium option for your online training. If you are training your dog yourself at home, Retriever Roadmap will give you not only the program, but the community to help you achieve your goals. And as a Duck Dog listener, if you use the code DD100, you will get $100 off your membership to Retriever Roadmap. DD for Duck Dogs, DD100 at checkout. Gives you $100 off to Retriever Roadmap. Well, I hope everybody is off to a great start to the year. This might be my first podcast of the year. And it's kind of crazy to say that because we're sitting here on the 25th. But it's been that kind of a month with season wrapping up and everything going on with travel. But we have some fun stuff that we're going to announce, just kind of shaking things up a bit here, kind of new year, new vibe kind of thing. And I have two lovely ladies with me here today, which will be new. I'm going to try to do a much better job with guests and kind of some different voices in here this year because I'm sure you guys are sick of just listening to my monotone, voice talk for long periods of time, just as difficult as it is for me to stare at the wall and talk to myself for an hour, hour and a half. So I think that kind of changes it up. We'll get some more personalities, more expertise in here, but it will also be a lot of what I've done in the past too, which is just simply as I have time in the moment, after a training session, after a hunt, whatever it is, you're just kind of jumping in and going over that stuff kind of in the moment. So we won't lose what we've been doing, but just kind of gain some stuff. So I have a familiar voice for you guys in Whitney, my wife that is here. And then a new voice that is going to be Erin is with us here today, too.
Hello, everyone.
So Erin, I'll do a quick little introduction of Erin. Erin is, she manages the office at the kennel, and she has been a fantastic part of our team. A lot to do with a lot of things. But the big thing for me is she jives with me as far as like I love attention to detail. I love organization, and Erin does too, and so we get along very, very well that way. But this is something that she has a very creative side as well, and so she's going to be helping me here in the podcast studio, kind of do some new things. And so one thing you may see is that we are videotaping these now, which we've never done in the past, and so Erin's helping kind of spearhead that. So we're going to have the availability on YouTube, is that correct?
YouTube, and then Reels on Instagram.
Perfect.
So far, yes.
Which I've never been able to do before. By myself, I've just not been able to make that happen. So, so Erin is going to be helping just kind of bring some more, media outlet to this, which is going to be really fun. I think it'll be really positive, and just kind of get her more involved that way. So. Really fun. I'm really excited about that stuff. And I also think, from a communication standpoint, so even the episodes I do by myself, Erin is still going to be kind of in the background, maybe helping me fact check some things that I think in the past I've kind of had some opinions on. Like, I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like I've been very open about that. But she's going to be around. So if you guys hear a voice in the background or kind of hear, some interjection here or there, it's probably Erin keeping me in line, from behind the camera. So welcome Erin to the Duck Dogs team.
Yeah, we're excited to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. What I love is that she's like a face at the kennel, and now she's going to be a face on Duck Dogs.
Yes.
A lot of presence.
That's the goal.
It'll be awesome.
And it's just great to have a little variety, but I also think like you guys are so unique, both of you, in what you do because of being a woman in the outdoor industry. And I think that's so neat because I think that there's a lot of the woman market as far as the outdoor industry is such an interesting one to me, because it's like, to me, you have on one hand what I'm going to call, quote unquote, if you can see me on the camera on YouTube, you can see I'm doing air quotes now. I'm going to do my air quotes. These gals that want in the worst way to be influencers, and they're like above, like overboard, and they're like, look at me, look at me, look at me.
They're the pretty face hunters, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not necessarily, but kind of. It's just like, to me, it's just like, okay, take it easy, like. That's one side of it. And then I think you have like the truly authentic outdoors, women that are out there doing it and are not that at all. And quite frankly, are the ones that I think should be highlighted. But they're not, because they're not the look at me, look at me, look at me. So it's really interesting. And so what I'm hoping is that through you guys, this will be kind of an authentic way to show what you guys are doing in the field. Like you guys have both gone on hunts together, this year that we really didn't show anything of. We didn't really talk about. We might talk a little bit on it here. But you guys are out there doing it. And I think that's really neat. I think it's something that should be celebrated. Should be, to me, if I was looking at, my daughter getting into the outdoors, I'd want her looking up to you guys in how you guys are handling this, not the look at me on Instagram. Yeah. That's just me.
Yeah.
And I get there's multiple sides to that. But.
I think Whitney's been a great role model for me. Being super new to this industry, my first hunt was, last year?
Just at Riverstone.
Yeah, that was my first hunt ever. So it's been fun learning from Whitney and building such a strong community with the girls that we've gone with. and just getting that quality time to just focus on like just girls in the field. It's really cool.
Down to earth with our dogs. Oh my gosh, I've been so proud of you.
Oh, thank
I had
you.
no idea that our hunt last year until you said it was your first hunt.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Like I've walked with my husband and our dog Indy, but nothing like super that I was super involved in, just kind of watching. So it was really fun. I'm excited to keep doing more.
Yeah, we do great. We went when we went trap shooting, Erin, it was her first time ever, and she slammed them. She did so well. I mean, the first couple times you're like, okay, Erin, like do this, but she did so. You catch on really quick. You're a fast learner and you listen.
Yes, thank
you. And it's so fun. Yeah, we'll be going on plenty more hunts.
Yes, I'm super excited.
That's great. Well, one of the cool things is Erin's husband and I actually met first.
Yeah.
And Erin's husband and I went and we played baseball at the same school in college, but we were not there at the same time. So we really didn't know each other. So Brady actually knew of me, and then that's how through the dogs then we connected that way. It's just kind of fun how this full circle kind of came about. But it's really neat, and it's kind of cool that it's a family thing. It's like Brady got you into it just with the walk, and then now obviously you're kind of force fed it now, being integrated into the business. But it's been really neat, and it's been a fun thing to kind of watch you grow up into it. And then obviously I think Whitney's a great role model for that too. So if you guys haven't noticed already, I am a little stuffed up. So hopefully
poor little Joshy.
Okay, I don't know if anybody else has this issue, but I get sick. And like I don't get sick often, but when I do, it seems to be like I'm on my deathbed sick. And Whitney has no sympathy for me at all. Like I have like this vision of like my wife caring for me and like bringing me chicken noodle soup, and Whitney will like kick the bed and be like, "Hey, get up! I need your help here." And I'm like a zombie, and I'm like, "Okay, Whit."
This time I changed my tune a little bit for you, but
you were a little better.
There's a thing called man sick. Have you heard of it before?
Yeah, my husband gets that all the time.
Yeah, right?
Good grief. I'm already regretting having the two girls on here. All right, so let's talk about what Erin has. I can't remember it was either your or Whitney's idea.
It was Whitney's.
Okay, so the dog dish. Okay, so as we talked about, we kind of brainstormed what we could do new for the year on the podcast. The dog dish came in.
Yeah.
So one of you guys tell me about the dog dish.
Okay, I'll tell you how I had the idea, and then Erin can take over on what the idea, how it's gonna come to life. Okay, so Josh is you're just a very straightforward, serious person. Very type A, serious. And I was just like, okay, how can we show everyone that you have like a fun, you do have a fun personality, but let's bring it to life. Let's make it just not so always serious. And so I was like, how cool would it be to have, obviously we're dog centric here. So let's have a dog dish instead of a goldfish bowl or something. Let's have a dog dish. And then anyone can put a topic in, reach out to us via social media, and then give us any type of a topic you want. It can be dog related. It can be sports related. It can be literally anything. We'll put them in the dog dish. And then once a week, Erin, you are going to you're going to draw out one of the questions or two questions, and then Josh has to answer it right on the spot.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to get all of our listeners involved a little bit more and connect with them on a relatable level,
Totally.
I would say. And then obviously this won't be every week during Josh's super busy hunting season, but when we're in the studio, I think it would be just a fun way to lighten up the episode a little bit more, add some personality. Not that you don't. But.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I get where we're going here. I do too. I think, as you guys can probably imagine, as everyone I'm sure can probably imagine, it's especially with how I've conducted. So I've always conducted the podcast the way that I've conducted it because of timing, and I've always been very true to this. Is that I feel like a lot of trainers that are doing what we do, right? Where we try to do as much as we can on social, even though we've significantly lacked on that, I'd say in the last year or two. Try to dedicate the time to do this. They're not out training. It's just the reality, right? You're either training or you're putting out content. Like you really can't be doing both unless you have full-time people where we have Aaron, we have Brett, we have Jake, we have Nick, we have a whole team dedicated to this. And even then, like the training takes so much time that it's one of those things that for me, it takes away. It's just tough. Like, for me to just, sit down and be like, okay, I got to get something done. I'm going to sit down here. I'm going to talk about this one thing that happened with this one dog, or one topic. And I kind of force feed it. And, once in a while, like, and it's really funny because sometimes I'm like, I'll get done. I'm like, oh, that was terrible. Like, that was such a bad episode. And I'll get like 30 messages of how much people loved it. And then there's one that's I'm like, God, that was awesome. And like crickets, like nobody sends a message. And so, what this will do, I think, to me, is it will, like, we'll always have something to talk about. Like, one thing that we didn't really have this as an idea, but you guys are going to hear about this here in a second, current events. If Erin can find certain current events that she thinks is applicable to talk about, we're going to kind of cover that stuff here. I've always felt like sportscasters have, like, the easiest job in the world because they wake up and they can just talk about whatever happened in the games last night. Like, I just feel like that's so easy because like these games are always giving you something to talk about. This is not that, right? But we can do something similar to that and kind of have, keep everybody kind of in the loop of certain things that are going on. So I think the fishbowl idea I think is really neat. I think it will put me out of my comfort zone a little bit. Like I can't prep, I can't prepare. Got to be on the fly.
Dish. It's the dog dish idea.
What did I call it?
The fishbowl.
Okay, the dog dish. Okay, I'll get the terminology correct. But I think it'll be good. I think it'll be some fun changes here and some more variety. But okay, so I want to talk about let's recap duck season because I just recently got back from Arkansas, and in the last month we've been in Oklahoma and Arkansas.
Yeah.
And had good hunting in both. Arkansas, I'll tell you, I think it was one of the best seasons that I have ever seen down there. Now, I ended up coming home a little early. We're sitting here on the 25th of January, so normally I'd be coming home on February 1st. I'd go through the end. But everything iced up to where there, everything was ice except for on the river, and then even on the river there was chunks of ice and fast-moving water. And the reality was I could not run a dog safely. Now, I do have trying to coordinate a cold weather podcast with Dr. Spoo right now because I'd love to get his take on this of, when it's too cold to be hunting. But the reality was I couldn't safely hunt a dog. And as much as I love hunting, I also don't love hunting without my dogs. And
for sure.
If I can't be around the dogs, I might as well be home having family time. So that's why I'm home right now. I do think that they're going to thaw out maybe for the last, maybe a couple days of season. I think that they'll get there. But it just wasn't for me. I wasn't going to sit around and twiddle my thumbs for a week, not being able to do what I need to do. So, but I think the season was fantastic. The dogs ended up doing really well. They weren't the big numbers as far as retrieves, went, but they still did really well. I have my log that I keep of all the dogs and the retrieves. And the one that I want to talk about, though, is Boris, because I had some questions on Boris because people noticed through the Riverstone stories that I handled Boris much differently than I handle everybody else. So with every dog that I've imported and trained and got to, where I wanted them to be, I have what I've, you guys have learned this now if you listen to the podcast for any amount of time, I have redshirted them. And that's my sports analogy for I bring them in, they go with me on the hunts, they sit, they watch, but they don't get to retrieve. And this has everything to do with desensitizing them to the things that I can't train for. I can't train for ducks working the decoys. I can't train for honkers sitting down. I can't train for the big speckle belly spins. I can't train for that stuff. So bring them in, ease them into it, desensitize them to it, finish their training that next year, and then bring them in ready to go. That has always been my routine. Now with Boris, it was different. So we just brought Boris in about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
2 months, 3 months ago, something like that. And he went on his first hunt, which he did retrieve, and it was a first live hunt for him about 2 weeks ago. Now, why did I handle him different? So Boris is a much different case than about every other dog that I brought in. So Boris is, Lewis, if you guys remember Lewis has been on here. He's one of my really, really close friends from overseas. And that's who we got Boris from, was from Lewis. And Boris is a dog that I fell in love with when I was over there. And Lewis trained him.
Yeah.
Like Lewis has had him from a puppy and has trained him to where he is. And he's already been hunting. I personally have hunted with Boris overseas.
Yeah.
And so this is just so different. Like most of the time, we used to getting these dogs in at a younger age that need work, that need polishing, that need Boris. All that really Boris needed was, okay, a couple tweaks of what we do here versus what Lewis has done overseas, like decoys. He's never seen a decoy before, right? Like little things like that, kind of a big deal. But little tweaks like that, like I'm not teaching him how to be steady.
Right.
I'm not teaching him how to mark. I'm not teaching him how to honor. I'm not teaching him how to run blind. I'm not teaching him how to do that stuff. He's already doing it. And so, and especially because he had already been on live hunts.
With you.
With me.
Yeah, that's a big part that is with you.
I personally had duck hunted with Boris 3 times on my trip overseas.
Right.
Right. So I've already been, so that's why it was different with him. Like I felt like it was, we were already past that point to where I brought him in. Now, if on that first hunt he would have been all over the place, okay, I might have called an audible and been like, whoa, maybe we have to pump the brakes. But he didn't. He did exactly what I thought he'd be. Boom, right at my side. I've been here 100 times before, which maybe not 100, but he's probably been there about 30 times, 40 times. And he knew what was going on. And he handled it really, really well. And what was cool about it, too, is so through Retriever Roadmap, we have what we call strike teams. And so strike is our acronym that we have, Sharing Retriever Training in Keen Excellence. I think that's right, without looking at a board or the word strike. But I think that's right. And so our strike team leaders that are across the country are people that have, the time, the property, the equipment, and they offer their time to have these people, members come in and train with them. And I just want to do something for them and to say thank you. And so I brought all of them in, completely free trip for them to come in, hunt with me in Arkansas for a few days. For a lot of them, it was the first time ever hunting in Arkansas, which was super fun and exciting.
Cool.
Yeah, really cool. But that was Boris's first hunt was with them. And what I thought was neat and kind of advantageous for me on that was that if for some reason I had to call audibles, I was with a group of people that understood.
Right.
Yeah.
They understood the environment, understood the situation, understood this is a young dog, understood everything. And but then what it turned into is that they appreciated what Boris had to go through and what he was like. They appreciated him doing as well as he did too, right?
For sure.
And so really cool. I thought it was a really neat hunt. I think the one thing that he was maybe the biggest learning curve that he had is I don't think that he had much opportunity with diving crippled ducks because that was the first one. I remember the first one he gets up to in a dove and he stopped and he was like, what was that? Like, and he's like looking around and popped up and he like runs over to it. So it was fun watching those wheels turn in that case. But yeah, he did fantastic. And I really think, I just hesitate to say this just because you never know, but like he could be a special one. He's really, really nice.
Yeah, he's really meshed with our family, with all the other dogs that we have. He's like, I don't know, it's kind of felt like he's always been here.
Kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like he's adapted so well, even just like seeing him in the kennel or like at your house or.
Yeah.
And it's interesting having you say that, Aaron, because like I think it's one thing for us to say that because we're like in the house with him.
Yeah.
But for you to say that and you see so many dogs come through, for you to see his personality and what he's like and have that comment, I think that's even more interesting.
Yeah. Well, usually like when you guys import right away and I like meet them, they're like trying to adjust to a new accent, just like new surroundings and everything. And when I went there, I don't remember, I was dropping my dog Will off and I saw him in there for the first time and I like went up and he was so happy. I don't know. He was just like, just felt like acclimated so quickly, which was really cool.
Yeah. And that's him. I do think part of that is because I was just with him 4 weeks before he came over.
Yeah.
Right. So like I in my head, maybe I'm humanizing it a little bit. In my head, I'm like, oh, I think you recognize me. Yeah. And I think that maybe made the transition a little more comfortable.
Oh my
I think.
gosh, Josh.
No, I didn't say it was like that. I'm just saying.
I also think this might be another part of it is that you and Lewis are very similar. Like you guys look a lot alike. Your personality is very similar. And since Lewis like raised him and trained him, like he's been with Lewis and then he goes to you, I think could have another part in why he acclimated so well.
Yeah, very well could be. for sure. Yeah, I just think there's certain dogs you look at and you're like, gosh, you just have something special. Like Tucker was one of those dogs. Yeah, I could talk about the older dogs because, yeah, you know, Brock and those guys for sure. But Boris has something. He has this odd composure to pair with a mega motor. And I really like that. But it'll be, I think it'll be really interesting watching him kind of grow up. But that's the reason why he didn't redshirt. And I know that there were some questions on that, and I totally get why, but I did want to clarify that.
Yeah. Every dog is their own case, really.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Right, for sure. For sure. So what was your favorite part of waterfall season this year?
Oh, opener for sure. Arkansas opener.
Yeah.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
special.
Literally.
Yeah.
No words can describe how amazing it was. It was nothing I had ever seen before. And I had a great time in North Dakota. Like I said, I'm like God is really trying to make me a waterfowl hunter this year.
I hope he succeeded.
He's like, okay, wait, you're going to North Dakota, you're going to slam them there. You're going to Arkansas opener, you're going to slam them there. Like, it was incredible. It was an amazing. I hit 6 states this year.
Wow.
6 states in 6 months hunting.
That's great.
Oh my gosh,
That's
I'm
so
like
fun.
back to my roots of hunting. Like I was a mom for, you know, raising little kids and then puppies, and finally this was my year. I broke out. Get out of jail.
I think it's funny how everybody has like their terminology.
I know, what's mine?
Oh, he slammed him. Like slam is your word. Like we slammed him.
Well, I hate the word like kill them or like slaughter them or like we just
Smash.
slammed them, smashed them.
Smash.
I know, it's great. No, it was a really awesome year. But Arkansas opener was like, it was so special because like the whole experience of opener, like our long walk in, and then like just looking up and seeing them like all over the place, and then being in the timber, and we had Brock with us, and it was just like I really wanted to just shoot every duck that came in, and you guys were like being picky because we had so many opportunities to shoot ducks, and I was like, can I shoot this one? Can I shoot this one?
Whitney's wanting to shoot hen gadwalls, and we're like, no, let's wait for the Drake Mallard.
But it was so awesome. It was just so fun. I mean, oh
Yeah,
my
it was
gosh.
great.
Like you go, like I was like, I get it. Like I understand why you go on, in my case, like 100 waterfowl hunts to get the one slammer. Like, and now I'm like, slammer. And now I want to go again.
Yeah.
You know, it was so awesome. I loved every second of it.
Yeah, it is. It is special, and
Yeah.
you do have to. And I think the same upland hunting, right? But like you have to have the poor hunts to appreciate the stellar hunts. I think that much more.
Oh, 100%. I totally agree. Yeah. I think in the upland field, it comes down to more, you have to have the good dogs in the upland field. Like, there is no sense of any type of fun if there are out of control dogs in the upland field. That is not fun to yell at your dog for hours on end. But if you have the dogs that you can walk quiet, it's a leisurely walk, whether you find a bird or not, you can get to the end of that field and be like, that was so nice.
Yeah, for
know.
sure. For sure. Well, we're going to transition to upland, but before we do that, Erin, what was your highlight of the season? This could be waterfowl or upland, but what was your highlight of the season?
I think probably it was really fun when we went out to Wendy's land. Just like walking, and it just like felt good to get out there. I don't think we got any before I was there, but it was just fun like watching all the dogs work. I think that was Bud's first
Yeah, that was his
upland
first
hunt.
one.
So it was fun watching him try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand why people do it for sure.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable. It's just rewarding, the camaraderie, like everything. It's really fun.
And that was actually a hard upland hunt because do you remember when we first walked in the field, all those birds flushed?
Right.
And then like the cover was so thick to walk in and we were so cold in the very beginning. Aaron and I looked at each other like, we can't even feel our hands. And we were like 5 minutes into the hunt.
Seriously. Once we got going, we warmed up a little bit.
But that cover was so thick. I remember
Right.
like times like it was like trudging through the cover.
Yeah,
And
my
I
legs
mean-
were definitely burning.
So, and it's a learning experience. Like, do you remember we kept being like, okay, we've got to slow down. Like, that's the hard part of waterfowl hunting is that you are so excited to be out there. And I
Right.
feel like because the dogs are working more in front of you, like quartering in front of you, I feel like we feel like we have to like, for some reason, keep up with the dogs, even though the dogs should be keeping up with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really hard hunt, but it was super fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I did for sure.
Good.
That's great. That's great. Well, and it's just kind of fun. Like everybody has their little thing that stuck out to them for the season, right? And I think that's kind of cool to be able to sit back and reminisce on. But let's transition to upland hunting because we are actually. I know this is going to sound a little odd. Let me explain. Actually, before I get into that, I want to go on the saying thing. Yeah, I want to explain something. So, I know I'm making fun of Whitney's smash, but So I actually had a couple guns customly done by Rob Roberts and my buddy Ryan Sparks, who works over there. He's just a great guy. They do a great job. And I had something kind of personalized on the forearm of my guns, and I had some questions come in, via social, like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? So I had the Retriever Roadmap logo put on the butt of the gun on the stock, which I think is really cool. It's sharp. They did a great job with the paint scheme. They shoot great. I love the slammer buttons. Love like everything about it. But on the forearm, on both the guns, I just put in writing, I put Dagger Attack. And I know from, if you don't know what that is, you might look at that and be like, that is a weird thing to have on a gun. But when I travel for hunting, it takes me away from the kids. And that is, I think, increasingly more difficult, especially as they get older, they get more interactive. They know that I'm gone. When I do call at night and they're like, oh, when you coming home? Like, it kills me. So it's getting more and more difficult to be away from home. But if you guys if you have followed our family at all, you know that Top Gun, the new Top Gun, is like the favorite movie, specifically with my boy, Coley. Unbelievable how much he loves that movie. But Ava too, they both love it.
They do, yeah.
And
and at the time, Colt was 2, Ava was 3, 4, somewhere in there. So the age, like they're young and they are obsessed with this movie.
Oh, when they started getting into
Yes.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But there's a scene in there where they're flying and basically it's like launch the attack and they send the missiles.
Yeah.
And Maverick says Dagger Attack. And that's like his way of saying send it, right? So Dagger Attack. And so I don't know why, but these kids have like hung on to that, okay? So like if we're driving the four-wheeler and they want to punch it, they'll be like, Dagger Attack, and then I punch the four-wheeler, right?
Yeah.
Or like we're shooting crossbows. That's one thing they love to do. They love to shoot the crossbow. And I love it too because like I can put it on the tripod, I can sight it in, make sure we're not like flinging arrows everywhere. But then also like the boom doesn't scare them like a gun. Like I'm trying to ease them into this the right way. And so like the kids, like they'll be like zeroed in right before they shoot. They're like Dagger Attack, and just like, I don't know. It's just like the thing. And so that saying to me is like, it's sentimental. Like I look at the gun, I just think of them. So that's why
so
that's on there. Yeah. I do a lot of cute things. Just ask Whitney.
Oh my gosh, okay, moving on.
Okay. So now let's transition to upland. Okay. So.
Okay.
We have, so why I'm saying it might be a little odd to hear that we're going into our upland season is because we have our new pheasant ranch, which is down in Missouri. So kind of the quick version of that, if you haven't heard about this yet, is we're running pheasant hunts in Missouri. We have a really good couple friends of ours that own a lodge. It's about 45, 50 minutes north of St. Louis, and it's just in, I believe, some of the most beautiful country that you could find in the Midwest. I mean, it's right on the river. It's big hills. It's bluffy. It is gorgeous. But I came to them with this idea that, they run a deer hunting operation. And so I just, kind of came to them like, hey, what do you guys do with all this property after deer season? Nothing? Okay. What do you do with this brand new lodge after deer season? Nothing? Okay. Well, why don't we do something with it? And so the reason I needed something was because I needed to find a way to showcase our dogs in an upland format.
It's about time.
Well, okay. So
Whitney's been waiting for this.
yes, she has. Yes, she has. And she's been on me about this for a long time. So my apologies.
It's
Publicly,
okay.
my apologies.
Thank you. Accepted.
But this is where it hit me was we had, Aaron, you might remember this. We had a guy, this was probably spring, like almost a year ago now, drop a dog off for burning on intro. And he's dropping the dog off. The dog wasn't one of our puppies. And so I'm like talking to him, getting to know him. And he's like, he said it in a way, he's like, I wish I could have got a puppy from you guys. And I was just like assuming that it was the weight, right? I was like, yeah, I get it, man. Like that 2-year wait can be really tough. Hopefully it speaks to the quality that we're doing, y'all stuff. And he's like, oh no, it wasn't that. And I'm like, oh, well, what was it? And he's like, well, I pheasant hunt.
Oh my gosh.
And like, I remember like, smoke probably came out of my ears as I'm trying to comprehend, like, why would that matter, right? And I was like, so, like, why did that stop you? He's like, well, you duck hunt, and I wanted a pheasant dog. And I was like, oh, my gosh. I mean, this is real, right? And so what I'm learning is that more and more all the time, I feel like perception is reality, right? So someone that just pheasant hunts, if they're looking at all that we're showing is waterfowl work, and I'm not gonna sway from who I genuinely am, right? Like I am a duck hunter. Like that's what I love to do. It's what I've always loved to do. It's what got me into this. I'm not gonna sway from who I am to do that. But I'm also understanding I need to learn how to showcase the dogs doing it all, right? And so what we're gonna do at the pheasant ranch is the reason we're running this in February and March this year is because it's after waterfowl season. Right, and it's kind of like a lull for us, right? Like up here, weather's not exactly ideal for training, although it might be this year. It's gonna be like 50 degrees next week.
It's been a really weird winter.
Yeah,
crazy.
Very weird. Historically speaking, not a great couple months to be up here trying to train, and then we can go be productive down there. So we can put the dogs into. We have 2 styles of hunts that we're gonna do. We're gonna do walking hunts where the dogs will be working, quartering in front of us, flushing, retrieving. And then what I'm really excited about is we're going to recreate authentic hill shoots, driven hill shoots that they do overseas that I've participated in myself numerous times, both in England and in Scotland. And the topography down there with these big hills and bluffs offers itself to where we can reenact this as if we're overseas. And it's going to be a really fun thing. I think a really cool experience, great dog work. But I'm going to be able to showcase the dogs in these formats. Here's what's been so interesting about this now. Is that Whitney and I have been training the dogs, now that I've been back from Arkansas, duck season's over, training them to be in the upland field. And some of them have taken quicker than others, I should say, to doing this. But what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, who are my hill dogs that I'm going to keep steady at my side? So the hill shoots would be shooters are at the bottom of the hill, guys are up on top, flushing the birds over the hill. And the birds are coming over at a high, first off, they're coming fast, but they're also high, so it's very sporty shooting. So the dogs are going to be steady at the bottom, and they're going to be marking birds as they fall, so very similar to a waterfowl hunt. But then upland, more traditional walking hunt, where the dogs are quartering up in front, that's new. Like some of these dogs, I'm like trying to get them to go in the front, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I've always had to be at your side, right?
For sure.
Now, to be fair, like most all of our dogs have had to do some sort of work up in front of us because to do any kind of upland work as far as testing goes, they need to do that. So they have to be, they have to flush, sit on the flush, steady through, wing shot, fall, send on their name. They have to do all that stuff. But that's a very small piece of what they've done in their life. Like from a hunting standpoint, especially, it's been we get them blind, we sit, we send on their name. So this is very different. What's been so interesting to me is the dogs that have been, like the young dogs we're introducing this to, like Rory really sticks out. Rory, we've been so adamant on obedience. Obedience. So then we let him go. He's so under control.
Oh my gosh.
He's so under control. He's
so
not
great.
getting way up ahead. All it takes is a tweet, tweet, tweet. He's right back to you. Like he's so under control. And to me, this just reiterates the fact of like why obedience is so important. Like we go back to this all the time, but the dogs that I think haven't had that level of obedience that we're trying to do this with, the wheels come off a little bit, right? They get on a runner, they get on something that all of a sudden they're too far ahead. Now you're trying to get them back. They're not understanding the distance thing. Obedience. That's what I keep coming back to. And that's where I think if I could just blanket statement, like, and I've said this 100 times, I'm going to say it 101 times, like obedience is the foundation of everything. If you are having issues that you saw during the season, you just got done with waterfowl season, go back to obedience. If you're worried about the foundation you're going to have coming into the spring training season, go back to obedience. If you have a young dog that you're just getting out, where do you start from here? Obedience. Like all of this comes down to the obedience. And it's just amazing how that's the one thing everybody wants to get through. It's not fun. It's not sexy. It's not fun to watch. You can't show it off, right? At least not I think obedience. I think I show obedience off more than anything else, but it's just the one thing everybody wants to get through.
Honestly, obedience is the one thing that everyone will usually compliment someone on. Like, oh my gosh, your dog is walking so nice. Oh my gosh, you brought your dog to the coffee shop and they just laid down and they're so obedient. Like, you have so many more opportunities with obedience. Honestly, you can do obedience anywhere you go with your dog. But people really, really appreciate an obedient dog.
Right. Well, and think about too, have you ever seen a dog, and I'm talking gun dogs now. Have you ever seen a dog like that dog was amazing, but they were out of control?
No.
But they were not obedient, like overly obedient. Like it doesn't happen.
No.
I like obedience, like whether you see it for what it is or not, obedience is the root of the whole thing.
Yeah. And it's 24/7, to be honest. Yeah.
Totally.
Every day, every hour.
Right. And to me, it's the one thing, like, does this dog drive you nuts or not? It's obedience.
Totally.
Right? Like, the reality is these dogs are family members first, hunting dogs second. No matter, our dogs, right? Our dogs are going into, we started in September with early dove season and went into waterfowl season. Okay, so September, October, November, December, January. That's 5 months. We're now going to go February, March. 7 months of the year, these dogs are working. And I'm still telling you, they are our family members first.
Totally.
Like, I mean, that's an extreme, and they're still family members first. Obedience is the most important thing in the whole thing.
Absolutely. Keep them under control.
Yep. So it's just been interesting. Now, I will say from a training standpoint, because people are always like, how do you work on quartering? How do you do that stuff? You gotta have birds.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like you can put the check cord, you can work back and forth, you can use the e-collar if that's what you're wanting to do. You can do these things, but without birds, you're not going to make it. Like, that's something that we have seen. The birds, they make you understand what you need to work on.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
For
now,
sure.
I'm going to go on a little side tangent because have we talked about Alvin yet on the podcast?
No.
I don't think we have. So my last trip overseas, I fell in love with this little cocker named Alvin, and I just had to bring him back. So I brought him back. He was Whitney's Christmas present is what I deemed him as. That was my justification for buying him.
100%.
But he's going to be one. He's going to be awesome
Yep.
for this pheasant ranch because like the dude's a machine. He is fun to watch.
Oh my gosh, he is so
He's fun to watch. And
We like giggled the whole time when we were hunting with him.
He's so little, too. He's just a little firecracker.
what is he, like 14 pounds?
Yeah, I don't
Right?
know.
And he grabs a rooster, and it's like as big as he is, and he thinks he's the biggest, baddest fighter that he's ever seen, just strutting back. He is hilarious to watch.
Yeah.
And I do think there's something about the energy. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that dog just loves life. I mean, he's like
His
just
tail.
happy.
Oh.
His whole butt starts wiggling. Yeah, I think he's great, and he's gorgeous.
Yeah.
He works great. I have him almost, I'm not going to say quite, almost handling like a lab, where I can send him on a blind, stop and cast him. Like, he's getting really good. I really like him a lot. But like, there's this thing right now that I keep hearing about and I see about, like, people trying to act like these cockers or these Boykins or, like, these different breeds are basically a small lab, okay? And they are not that. I'm just going to, like, I love Alvin to death. I love our other dogs to death. But I appreciate them for what they are and who they are, right? They are not a lab. Straight up, like, when we're hunting cold water, like, can Alvin go retrieve mallards? Absolutely he can. And he is a little machine. He's a little badass. He will do it until he tips over. But he cannot handle the cold like the labs can.
Yeah.
He is not going to go run a 500-yard blind like these labs can, as far as, like, not efficiently, not as strong, not as, like, he just doesn't have, it's the difference between, why does LeBron James have more athleticism than the guy that's, 5'2", and you know what I mean? Like, there's a difference there. Like, the 5'2" guy might be quick, might be agile, might be athletic, but, like, he doesn't have the same attributes that LeBron James had physically. So they're not the same. Okay, so I just, like, it frustrates me when I hear these people, when I hear, like, and breeders are probably the worst at it because naturally everyone's going to be salesmen for their own breeds. But I'll tell you, with who we got Alvin from, she was a great person to talk to because she was like, look, like, this is not a lab. Let's just be very clear about this. One thing I thought was hilarious, she had made the comment, she said, when you train a lab, you tell them what to do, and they do it. When you train a cocker, you ask them what to do, and you try to convince them that it was their idea. Like, she's like, that's the difference in training these dogs. I thought that was just a hilarious way to put it. And it is true. Like, he's different quirked, right? Now, I love him, but I also love him for who he is. And so, like, when some people are like, well, why didn't you hunt Alvin in Arkansas? Well, I wasn't going to kill him. One, like, that's a real thing.
Right.
I'm not going to make him shut down because he can't handle that. Like, could he have handled it? Yeah. But guess what? I have dogs that are better suited for this that can handle this better. They're gonna take this one. Like, I don't have an ego to where I'm gonna throw these guys out there and just be like, look at my tough little dog. Not gonna do that, right? But you're dang right. I'm gonna put him in the pheasant ranch and let him do what he does, best, which is quarter, flush, and this little dog. It was hilarious. I'm gonna make fun of Whitney a little bit because if you know Whitney, she's a very prideful person, and she specifically prides herself on her shooting. She didn't shoot the best yesterday during our training sessions, and she was not happy about it.
I was not.
And what was hilarious to me was there was one point that Alvin is working, and you can kind of tell, like, his little body gets a wiggling, and he's like, all birdie, flush, and he sits down, and I can barely see him in the cover. Sits down, I'm watching him, and I hear boom, boom, and a cuss word. That was Whitney. And so I knew she missed. And all of a sudden, I just see Alvin lift up and he's standing on his hind legs, almost looks like a little kangaroo. And he's like looking over the cover, watching it fly away. And he kind of like looks over his shoulder back at us. It was hilarious. Like, he just has this very much of a personality. And then there was one at the end that he was working in front of me, puts a bird up. Yeah, I make sure I'm watching him. So, tweet, make sure he sits. He cannot see anything because this cover's like 6 feet tall at this point. So he knows the bird flushed. I watch him, sits down. I come up, boom, shoot. Bird falls. I go back to watching him. And he's watching, but he can't see anything. And he has this like slow motion like over his shoulder. And he like looks at me and gives me this weird look. And I was like, Alvin. And he just like wails and just boom into the cover. He's so funny. Aww. But I think he's going to be a really fun. Okay, so like going back to, he's going to sit and be steady, too. Yeah. He's going to handle on the hill hunts like the labs are. He's going to run blinds. He's going to do that. But, again, he's not a lab. Just like these labs are not him. Yeah. Right? These labs work in front of us. They flush. They're the same thing, right? As far as they catch scent, they flush, they'll stop, they watch, they get scent, they retrieve, they do all that stuff, right? But when you watch Alvin work back and forth versus you watch one of these labs work back and forth, you can tell Alvin's at home. And the labs they're doing their job, but this isn't their forte, right? Just like you bring them in the duck blind, right? You tell the labs are at home, and it's not necessarily Alvin forte, but like he's going to go do it, and he's gonna, like, people are going to love watching him do it. All stuff is great, but they're not the same. And so to me, this is no matter what breed it is, right? Problem that I have with the versatile dogs. Okay, I have trained and fallen in love with. I guess I don't have any trophies in here, specifically from pancakes, but like I've trained dogs that we have many awards from that are versatile dogs, specifically short hairs, love them to death. But this idea that they do everything as well as like they retrieve like Labradors and they point like English pointers, not the case, right? And so this is where to me, finding the right breed is what's best for you. I have a very dear friend of mine, okay, that when he saw that we got Alvin, he's like, I'm getting a cocker too. I'm like, whoa, like, why? And he's like, I just think they're great. They're small little dogs, and I can duck hunt with them. And I'm like, dude, like, if you're wanting a duck dog, this is not it. Yeah. Right? Like, just being real with you. Like, can they duck hunt? Yes, but they're not a lab. Right? And so anyway, just like, I guess where I'm going with this thing is like find the right breed. Yeah. Then find the right breeder and kind of narrow yourself in that way. But I cannot wait to get him at the pheasant ranch. I think people are going to fall in love with that little dog.
When it was interesting with me hunting behind our labs and then hunting behind Alvin, because it's such a different energy in the field. And I didn't realize this. You realize it. I did not. But like, I'm used to hunting behind the labs. They're just very methodical in the field, like just a very much lab temperament and personality in the field. And then little Alvin comes out and his legs are like a quarter the length of the lab. So he's just shorter. He's like boot scooting and boogieing like everywhere, like he's just like in control, energetic in the field. And I felt like I kept catching myself, or Josh kept catching me like walking fast. And he's like, wait, slow down. And I'm like, I think I keep walking faster because Elvin, his little legs move so fast. I feel like I need to move my legs faster.
Well, yeah. So they're both going the same speed, right? But the lab is going like, did it.
Right.
Where Alvin's like, you know, like his legs are just like so much. And so like Whitney's like speed walking. And I'm like, Whit, slow it down. And you're like, okay. And then like 2 seconds later, you're walking fast again. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you walking so fast?
I don't know. All I can think of, like, his little legs are moving so fast. And like perception is a perception that then you have to move faster. Yeah. And you don't. It's just. But yeah, it was really fun. And going back to like finding the right breed for you, like it took me some time to acclimate to Elvin, even being in the home. Like there were a couple times where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, can you not just go lay on your dog bed like every other lab in this house? Because he's just a different personality, different mentality than the laid back British labs like I'm always used to. So it even took me time to understand, okay, this is what this breed is. This is how I need to handle it. I need to treat him differently than the labs that we're used to.
Yeah, yeah. But there is something special, I will say, about seeing a tiny dog with that big of a heart.
Oh my
gosh. Fun. It really is.
It's amazing. He's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm just super excited. We had our guide meeting last night where I conference called everybody in and just kind of made sure like we got our dogs ready to go. We have our day-to-day itinerary ready to go. It'll be a fun thing. I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. It'll be really fun.
Yeah. So, all right, you guys. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here and get going. But Erin, thank you and welcome, because you're going to be a familiar voice here for everybody. And thank you again for taking the time again. And thank you for everyone for bearing with my stuffiness, as I'm sure I sound like Snuffleupagus. So I said this yesterday that we had the schedule. We were going to do this podcast. And I said, I hope I don't sound like Bert and Ernie.
Oh, my gosh.
Erin didn't know who Bert and Ernie was.
She made us feel so old. We're not old.
I hope everyone understands the Bert and Ernie reference for Sesame Street. And Erin's like,
who's that?
Oh my gosh. It made me feel so old.
100%.
Just like when the Chore Kids, I love one-liners. Okay. And with the Chore Kids, like I'll do one-liners like specifically from like, I don't know, Tommy Boy. No idea what I'm talking about. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, guys. I've never seen this movie. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm that old guy
you
now.
Are.
I turned 35 and all of a sudden,
you are the old guy.
I'm the old guy. Wonderful.
Our kids asked Josh on his birthday if he needed a cane. Like literally no one put that in their head, but Colt was like, do you need a cane?
That's so funny.
I don't think they've ever seen a cane. Like, I don't know where they got that
from Grandpa Harry, who's 90. He's 90.
I could see
comparing Josh to his 90-year-old grandpa.
And on that note, we're going to end the episode. Hope you guys have a great week, a fantastic week. Make sure, here's my challenge, you guys. As your season wraps up, make sure you write down pros and cons. Make sure you write down what went well, what didn't go well, and what you have to do as you kind of go into the train season. I promise you, writing this stuff down while it's fresh in your mind will make it to where you attack this season in a more intentional effort, and you can go get a head start on your train season. So go write down your goals, go write down how the season went so you can go reflect on it, and let's start this season off with a bang. So hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.